gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Welcome to Cornhusker Corner with Blake.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And Brooks.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle business.
Here is a hand up to Thunder who gives it back to Mike Stokes. He's going to throw it. He's got a man out. Yeah! 40. It is very close. 15, 10, 5.
All right, welcome to Cornhusker Corner, where there's no place like this podcast. As always, we're your host, Blake, my brother, Brooks. Thank you for joining us, listening. Again, you can listen to us anywhere podcasts are found. For the audio-only version, YouTube, Cornhusker Corner. If you want to watch us be fools or see the names behind the completely inept voices, like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.
Or subscribe to the video and like the channel. That's also an option.
Yeah, I know. I put a massive emphasis on that this time. But yeah, you can follow us on X at @Chusker_corner and Instagram Cornhusker Corner. So yeah, this is the Michigan State post game pod, and we just decided to hop on, let it be raw. If you were to listen to our preview, there were some things that I think we said off the air that we probably should have said on the air to kind of mitigate our losses a little bit, because it's not completely shocking to us what happened this week, just in terms of like the hype from everything, just how the team has been playing. We were due for a game like this, and better it happen now than against a team that we actually hate, like Iowa, Wisconsin. The team is gonna get kicked in the ass a little bit this next week in practice, and we're gonna really prepare for a home game against Maryland. Again, not bowl eligible. So I do think this is a better thing for the team and for the longevity of the program than it is a detriment. That being said, there were a lot of really good opportunities to do some things that hasn't happened in a Husker game for a really long time. One of those things was coming back from a multiple score deficit in the fourth quarter with not a lot of time left, and Michigan State was just trying to hand us the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
After that fumble, the fumble, the sack, strip sack, I'll call it a strip sack. Then that play calling sequence was like, what the hell are you doing?
Are you talking about the one that hit off
right
his
at the end
knee
of the
and
game?
bounced 5 yards? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, that's he was under duress. He was getting tackled. It was more of a strip sack than it was just a fumble,
Right.
But yeah, that sequence right after that, it's like, what are you doing? But I don't know. I know that's a lot of word vomit from me, but what are your first reactions here?
Sorry. No, my first reactions are, I was thinking about the last 3 games before today and how I could illustrate why we looked better in one sentence. Because I'm in film school, I guess you could call it, and that people like to summarize things in log lines and stuff like that. So the sentence I thought of was if you cut to any one point in any of those games, no matter what the score looked like, it appeared that we were dominating, right?
Sure.
It looked like, oh, that is the team that's winning. Today, it was not that. It was almost the opposite of that. There was moments where it was like, okay, there they are. But for a lot of the game, if you just tuned in, didn't know what the score was, it was like, well, Michigan State's taking it to them. So that's telling to me. I was saying it pretty much all day to you. I felt like we were getting, really handled at the line of scrimmage at times, and which was really surprising. They were their linemen were on offense. Michigan State's linemen on offense were really good at at helping each other out, picking up their double teams and moving up to the second level. I saw Nash get taken off of his feet a number of times throughout the game, which was surprising because he's had of course a heck of a year so far, and it wasn't a fail defensive performance. But yeah, okay. So now that we're getting into specifics, I guess let's go ahead and get into the positives and negatives. Do you want to start with positives or negatives?
Let's switch up the trend here. Let's go to negatives first.
Okay, let's start with negatives because it's a loss.
Yeah,
because it's a loss. So the defense didn't play up to snuff today. We can go ahead and start with that. They didn't play up to their standard. Like I just said, I don't think it was an F performance. I would call it maybe a C minus, C plus, C minus,
D plus.
Yeah, in that range. Maybe they would get a degree with it. But the offense didn't put them in great positions. I mean, you can't keep turning over the ball like that and expect anything good to happen defensively.
Sure.
So,
but here's the difference between the turnovers this week and the turnovers prior weeks, right? The turnovers prior weeks, it was in plus territory. It was basically in a situation where the defense had to stop them, like get a 3 and out or stop them, or else they were going to get 3 points at least, right? The two of the interceptions this week were okay. One of them was a punt. It was within the 5-yard line. And then the other one was on the other side of the territory as well. So it wasn't they weren't putting the defense in a position to where they had to make a 3 and out or there were going to be points on the board. So it wasn't like the offense put them in bad situations. And one of the things that we said in our preview was I thought that the offense would cough up the ball in a particular scenario that would have the defense have to step up, but the defense was going to come out and play well. And that didn't happen. Neither of those things. The offense did turn over the ball, but they didn't turn over the ball in those situations. And then the defense didn't come to play. Now, we did discuss one scenario where the defense kind of comes out and sleepwalks through the game. There was probably one drive where our defense actually looked like themselves. From the entire season, they looked like themselves one drive today. And that was the one where they went 3 and out, went backwards, got out of field goal range, and they had to punt the ball.
Right.
And if that happened every single drive, and they got pressure on the quarterback, he couldn't just sit in there, make those reads, takes the pressure off of the secondary. A lot of things happened today. Good. We haven't said this yet. All right. Good on Michigan State because they had nothing to lose and they played like it. Right. Mm-hmm. It was their senior day. It was a lot of those guys who had been used to winning. Let's just say it. They had been used to winning if they've been there for 3 years, they're used to winning. So they came out, they played well. I don't even necessarily think they had a good game plan. I just think that players came to play.
Yeah.
And Nebraska didn't.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. I mean, I've been thinking about this lately, how people like to boil down football games to they just, were flat-footed in the first half and generalizations, you know what I mean? When absolutely. In reality, there's there's lots of things. You zig when you should have zagged. You did this and it's like a football game sometimes comes down to those little factors like that. And we figured that out over the last couple years watching all the losses, because losses more than anything are so overanalyzed. And I also want to say one thing that's been totally illustrated to me over the last couple weeks, and don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed the winning over the last couple weeks. I've enjoyed it. I have savored it. But this game really hammered the point forward that it's like, man, when it comes to being a Nebraska fan, I really do hate losing even more than I love winning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's good. That's a trait. That's a character trait that, you know, I can apply in my life to, you know, things I care about. But that's competitive spirit. And I hope the players feel that they hate losing more than they love winning, because if they have that character trait throughout the program, then I think that only good things can come from a game like this. But so yeah, defensively negatives. They didn't tackle as well. I felt like a lot of the stuff you were talking about with the fumbles and all that stuff, I feel like it really does stem from what I was talking about before with the trenches. I mean, when you dominate that phase of the game, it makes the whole game so much easier for you. And that's just how it works. And so
there are excuses to be made in a lot of like areas. Like whether you think illy or positively of those offensive linemen that are out, there are 2 starting offensive linemen that have been playing well the entire season that are out for the season against a team that has a better front than we've seen since they've been out. So again, not to make excuses, but our offense is decimated, and it showed today. It showed.
Yeah. No, it did.
In the trenches, it showed. In the skill positions, it showed. One side note, we do have to talk about the announcers, and that is a big negative. Like,
huge.
Those dudes. I don't know who were they. Can you look them up?
Dean Blandino. Oh, you know, let me see who announced.
Well, Dean Blandino is just their like rules analyst.
Oh, that's all he is.
Yeah, that's all he is. But yeah, no, the guys that were calling the game, they didn't know personnel. You could tell they haven't really watched any sort of Nebraska game or really Michigan State game all year, and they were just calling it like they saw it. They called Satterfield Scatterfield for the first quarter until somebody probably got in his ear and was like, "Hey, it's Satterfield," and they were like, "Oh, okay." And then he started to do it a little bit differently. They had a couple different things that just they were just saying it that were just out of completely left field that I did not understand. There was one. Hold on.
Color play-by-play.
Oh, one of them.
Jason Benetti.
Jason Benetti. Never heard of him.
Steps for the college football roster. I don't know, man. Oh no, that's an article from 2 months ago. Hell no.
Yeah. Okay, so that's not it.
Yeah.
One of them was one.
Oh, Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman.
Spencer Tillman.
Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman. So,
well, they were not on their
Michigan
A
State's
game
website.
Yeah, they were not on their A game today.
No,
I think one of the worst ones was they were late to pursue Harburg when he like the coverage. The coverage was tight and it broke down and he got that run into the 5. They were like, oh, they were late to pursue and they didn't take really good angles. No, Harburg is fast.
Yeah, well, on that one, I agree with you to an extent, but I also think just both things can late to pursue and Harburg's fast and made them pay for it. Like, that's really the way I sort of read it too.
Fair, but
because if they, I mean, I really think if they anticipate that he's going to try to run like that and they think he's as fast as he is, because he hadn't broken out a run like that all game. He hadn't even found the edge all game. He had been hesitant the whole game, really. Yeah, but if they anticipated that, I think maybe they take a different angles. But so yeah, I think both things can be true on that one. But I agree with you. They were getting names wrong. They were calling Satterfield Scatterfield. Which is a great nickname. Kind of funny. Yes, it is kind of funny.
It is kind of funny, and we might adopt it here. I'm thinking about adopting it.
Sometimes he is Scatterfield.
Because sometimes he is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Today he was.
Today he was.
Because you have drives like the one that we took up like maybe a minute and a half and drove down the field. You had 2 really good passes and then like a run to get into the end zone. Like that took up like no time at all. It looked like we were cutting through a hot knife through butter. And where was that? The other 2 drives that you had to take the lead. Mm-hmm. Where was that? Mm-hmm. Part of it was execution. Part of it was play calling.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that offensive negatives. Yeah. Like we got beat up front a lot. Harburg was pressured a lot.
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah, I tend to go towards offense just because that's what I played.
Sure.
But defense definitely did not show up. Definitely.
yeah.
So I mean, I'm just harping on the negatives. The defense just did not fly around the ball, played flat against an offense that has been anemic all season.
Mm-hmm.
Again, give them credit. They came out, had nothing to lose, but still you have to come out, you have to fly around the ball and like play defense. And they weren't doing it. I don't even know enough about defensive play calling just because that's not the side of the ball that I ran. To know like if Tony White was at fault or the coverage was at fault, because from what I saw, it was in the secondary, it was guys getting beat, it was not getting pressure on the quarterback. And
like I said, man, I feel like a lot of it stems from their offensive line and our defensive line sort of getting a manhandle a lot of the game, and our front seven having some trouble this game for the first time in a long time. Because it felt like people were getting to the second level more than they had before, and we were having to have our DBs come in and make support tackles more than they usually did. Because before it was like if Hartzog was making a tackle, it was behind the line. You know what I mean? It was on the edge and behind the line. Something like that. Well, today, if he or Newsom or somebody like that was making a tackle, it was because somebody got through somewhere. So yeah, agreed on the defensive front. So we talked about offense, we talked about defense. What about special teams? Special teams, Brian Buschini probably had his worst game of the year so far.
He had one bad punt, the other one got blocked.
Oh yeah, it did get blocked.
It got tipped. Because he had one game where he had like 3 punts that were just all on him. So I think that was his worst game. He did have one bad punt. But there was still pressure on that. Blocking schemes. Again, Michigan State played a great game. They probably played their best game of the year.
The thing I fault more in the special teams is the fair catching the ball at the 5-yard line. Just seemed to have hurt Billy Kemp out there to just because he can catch. That's a Scott Frost thing to do. Like that's what they did all the time. And
if he's going to catch it,
off.
Don't catch it. Like it's a special teams thing. If you're going to fair catch a punt, you look at the 10-yard line, and if you're past the 10-yard line, you wave a fair catch, act like you're going to catch it, and let it bounce behind you. Because most of the time, like if it bounces, and that's a good punt. If it bounces and then goes the other way, that's a good punt. But most of the time, you know what it does? It bounces in the end zone and you get it on the 25-yard line. That's what happens. And he caught it on the other side of the 10-yard line, the bad side of the 10-yard line. What did you say? Like it was
like three times. Like three times
today. Yeah. And okay, ooh, you caught it. We didn't fumble it. But guess what? It doesn't matter. That stifled those drives. It stifled them. So that's a really, really big negative. But
the Big Ten is a field possession league that the Big Ten West especially is a field position league that rewards good complementary football, not flashy football, good complementary football. And today we did not play good complementary football on any side of the ball. So we talked about sides of the ball negatives. Let's talk about the officiating because that's a negative as well. I think that there was a couple completely missed calls. One that comes to mind on key drives. One that we'll go through them chronologically, I suppose, as we think about them. But the first one that comes to mind for me is they missed it ended up not costing us because Heinrich scrambled for the first down, but they missed a horrible face mask on, I believe it was third down or second down, maybe.
Second down.
It was second down, but it made it third down. It should have been just a first down. I mean, and that's a psychological thing too. That's like, you really just missed that entire face mask. All right, well, the officials aren't on our side. It's like when you step up to the plate as a batter and like a ball's in the dirt, strike. And it's like, oh crap! All right, got to be aggressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right. And there were a couple calls just in the pass interference game on our end that were not called. One of them was on that second to last drive, I believe. Deep ball to Malachi. he started to go back to the ball, he probably could have made a play on it, honestly, because an unimpeded Malachi with the speed that he was going at, he could have made a play
And his
on that
reach
ball.
and height and hops. Yeah.
And he was completely impeded. And you saw the defender box him out.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it-
Literally
it-
box
it-
him out. Yeah.
Box him out. Like, he was just like, okay, well, he's not going to catch it.
Yeah.
That was literally him giving himself up to the pass interference, so he didn't give up a touchdown.
Well, here's
And-
my theory on it. I mean, what are these, like Big Ten officials who mostly officiate Big Ten West games?
Let's not.
You know, no, not conspiracy.
Okay.
This is
All
this
right.
is
All right.
this is actually like think of it like this. If you're a boxing official and you go ref an MMA fight, like you don't know a lot of like what a leg kick is. You know what I mean? If you're a Big Ten West official and teams are having to pass like we have been passing, like you're not used to having to officiate those like bang bang pass plays as much as a Big 12 official, for instance. You're just not. Like you're just not. And I know this is just kind of like a funny side theory, but it's like, yeah, I mean, they missed a lot of calls, and I'm not saying like, oh, they were in Vegas's pocket. But what I am saying is maybe they're just rusty with making those types of calls because they're Big Ten officials. Like,
Listen, like the amount of scrutiny that refs are under now, and the conspiratorial like mindset that most people have now. Like, I don't know what it is, but the past couple of years, people just think that you mentioned it, Vegas. And
Yeah.
that's a big thing with like sports betting and everything that came, and it doesn't really affect like, I guess, NCAA, but it does. But like the NFL and everything like that is like, oh, the refs are rigging it. This is rigged. This is rigged. No, you know what they're seeing on the field? They're seeing on the field what the players are seeing on the field. They have a limited view, and then they
Yeah,
go up.
very
They
limited.
go up to somebody that's looking up top to be like, hey, like, oh, right, challenge that. Okay, then let's look at it from all the camera angles and be like, okay, so that's what we saw. All right, what are the rules? What are the rules? Like, refs get shafted a lot.
no doubt about it.
They get shafted a lot. And so I don't think there's any conspiracy for the most part. I don't think there's a big conspiracy because sometimes, you know, sometimes it seems
No,
to me
yeah.
like there's a little bit of a
Look.
finger on the scale. But
Look,
I do think that like they have a really hard job, and
they do.
that we need to be a little bit easier on them because it's played in the trenches. Football is played in the trenches.
no doubt
Win in
about
the
it.
trenches and you'll win. Doesn't
No
matter.
doubt about it. But I will say this. Look, if you've ever played football,
Yeah.
you know, like most people have watched football. Not everybody who watches football has played football. But you watch football, you see everything because, you know, they give you the bird's eye view, and it's like,
Yep.
there's edge pressure. There's that. They're playing their cover two. You can see everything.
Yeah.
But you know it, especially as a quarterback, it's the most start because you play Madden and you're like, I could be a quarterback. But then you actually get out there and you realize the field view is so much more limited than you realize because you're at eye level with everybody. And
Yeah.
so they're blocking your view at times. And when I played, I'd be like, holy crap. Okay. So I'm focused on my job here because I can't see really much of anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the official view is very similar. So they don't see everything. They're human beings, but and we've given them the benefit of the doubt here. But let's go ahead and finish talking about the calls with those final calls of the game.
Yeah.
Which were first of all, there was one call that was reviewed. This isn't the final call of the game. The one that was a touchdown that they called a touchdown that was reviewed in the booth that was obviously not a catch.
Obviously
like-
not a catch.
And like,
So yeah, no, it was obvious that that is an instance after my entire tirade that I just
Yeah.
went on. Completely right. That was not
Yeah.
a catch. Like,
yeah,
what the fuck are
conspiracy
you
theorists
doing?
love that one.
Yeah.
They loved that one.
Yeah, no, they love that one.
Yeah.
No, you could tell like he didn't have control of it. He kind of squeezed it between his two hands and it touched the ground. It touched the
Yes.
ground. And a honest Michigan State fan would look at that and go, yeah, got lucky on that one.
Yeah, I would have said that if it was us.
Yeah, if it was us.
Yeah.
So
We got
Yeah,
one of those types of calls like recently, one of those types of calls. Like it wasn't quite I forget. One was reviewed like a couple weeks ago, maybe even in Illinois, that like we didn't even think got in a touchdown that we felt like maybe even didn't get in, and it just wasn't even reviewable. And they were like, "Yeah, it stands."
might
And we
have been
felt
one
like,
of those.
yeah, it got lucky on that one.
Might have been one of
Yeah.
those scrums, like
Yeah,
on the
for sure.
1 yard line.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's a little
Yeah,
different.
little different, but that one was clear. It was
Yeah, it
clear,
was.
and
It was.
that ended up being the difference in the game.
Yeah,
It ended up being the difference.
it's one of the differences for sure. I mean, the coverage was
We
decent
lost
on
by
that
3
too.
points.
Coverage was decent on that
No,
as well.
and listen, we even said it before they made a call. Like that receiver made a great play, great effort, and it's a touchdown in the books. So
Yep. Okay, so now let's jump ahead to the end of the game calls. So the end of the game, we get the ball back. We get the ball back with about 40 seconds left.
Yeah.
We have maybe an incomplete pass and then a complete pass over the middle to Malachi Coleman for what was a first down. Like forward progress gives them the first down, no doubt about it. And they call it not a first down, so the clock keeps running. And we're in hurry up anyway, so I almost didn't even notice at the time.
Yeah,
but the clock kept running, and you look down, you're like, oh my God, there's like 12 seconds left. There's 13 seconds left. 19. Yeah, something like that in the teens. And then they run a pass play, and Heinrich's hand gets tipped, but it's moving forward. Like the ball's moving forward, but they call it a fumble on the field. And Ben Hart recovers. There's like 10 seconds left, 9 seconds left, 8 seconds left. So they got to run a play. They have no timeouts left. And they run a play. So
they get the snap off with 1 second left.
Yeah.
So they got off with 1 second left. And in that situation, what are you going to do? They didn't call it an incomplete pass on the field. And are you going to like hope after they've missed at least one call?
Right.
At least one call on review this game. Are you going to just trust them? Or do you want to get one play off and like,
yeah, it was a hard
Mary
situation,
pray.
but it was a botched call on the officials to me. I mean,
it was
seriously, because
they should have stopped the play.
Like you got to call an official timeout and review that, because it was his hand was either moving forward or it wasn't. It was one of those.
They didn't review
plays.
the first down, which it was a first down, and they didn't review the arm moving forward. So those two calls, They might have already checked out, and then Michigan State decided to do what they did and was like, oh shit, I just want to go home to my wife.
I don't think
she's
that.
making
No,
a potluck.
I don't think that. No. I don't think that. I really think that our team was fighting there at the end to try to win this game. I really do. I believe that.
No, I'm talking about the refs. The refs had checked out.
I thought you meant our team.
Like the refs had already been like, all right, well, Michigan State won. My wife has a pot roast on. I have to get home. So yeah.
Well, with that, let's switch to positives, because I do think that is a positive. We were down 20-10 at the end, and I do think our team had a fight. We were trying to win. We were trying to win there at the end. And to be honest, it felt like, I mean, those ref calls killed us there at that 40-second drive, but it felt like there for a little bit that we were going to get into field goal range position and that Alvano was going to kick one in for us. It felt like that for a little bit.
For a second.
Yeah, it felt like that. Yeah. Because you get a first down and the clock stops to set the ball, and then boom, we're going to have to Geronimo it. And that would have been awesome. That's like the best ending to a game there is. I mean, it wouldn't have ended the game, would have brought it into overtime, but still. So yeah, I like the fight in our team. I do like that. I think that, I don't know. It's just hard to pick out a whole lot of positives here because we lost.
Listen,
and I'm emotional.
Yes. Well, listen, even the losses feel different, right? Because we got outplayed today.
Yeah.
We just did, right? And part of that is, we talked about this, that the Michigan State is probably the program from our past 3 wins from the Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue. Michigan State is the one that is more of a blue blood. It has more of the same caliber talent on the team. Maybe not coaching, maybe not culture, maybe not any of that, but they have the same sort of talent because they're able to recruit off the Michigan State name that Nebraska does, right? So when you look at this loss, I don't really feel like I would if we had lost to Northwestern or lost to Purdue, and I never have felt that way when we've lost to Michigan State, because Michigan State, even though they're on a down year, they are one of those teams that like they fight you hard.
Sure.
And you know,
I mean, they started 2-0. They started 2-0, and then they've been on a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
So going to this game, they were motivated, I guess, to really like stop the skid, which is that's commendable. But yeah,
and it was their senior day again. I said that there was a senior day. A lot of these players who have been used to winning, it's the last home game in their entire career. A lot of emotion in the air. It's set up for the game that happened. It was set up that way.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt it was.
But you look at it and it wasn't like we just got completely manhandled, you know? It wasn't like you look at the game and it was like, Nebraska's completely outmatched. It's not like the other, I will say, one loss that we've had. It's not like the Michigan loss.
No,
right?
No.
And it's not like the other two, because Minnesota, we lost that game. We lost it. We didn't get beat. We lost.
Yeah.
Colorado, I would even venture to say that we lost because we had no freaking offense that entire game. The entire game. And if your defense is on the field 80% of the time, you know what's going to happen? They're going to get tired and they're going to give up at some point.
No doubt about it. And I also think it's interesting because like Colorado was like they were an out of the gate team because like their coaches who gave them confidence. You know, most teams it's like their record, that's what gives them confidence. But their coach is what gave them confidence. And the moment they started falling apart, it's like hard to stop that skid because they're not relying on their body of work. You know what I mean? With us,
they were,
even though we just lost, I feel like those two programs' trajectories, at least on this one season, I don't know where we're going from here, but are completely opposite. But I mean, I really still think that like we have 5 wins, we have 3 games left.
3 games left.
All we got to do is pull off one. I'm not really thinking about the Big Ten West anymore, but I am thinking about. I mean, it's possible, but I am thinking about
this game, especially,
no doubt,
right? Because Wisconsin lost today. And it was Wisconsin and Iowa, really, because Minnesota has another loss there.
Yep, but now they need
Minnesota. Now they need 2 because
I don't know if they have to.
Anthony Grant fumbled.
Yes.
And
Jeff Sims threw a pick. I mean, like
no. And Gifford didn't get the interception.
Oh, true. That too.
Yeah,
but last drive, Sims threw a pick, so
yeah,
you have to put it on him too.
No. I think the fumble and the interception still, because Sims was put in a desperation spot and did what he does. The other 2 were avoidable mistakes.
Yeah, I guess
they were.
I'm talking more about the interception.
Okay, we're on positive.
In the goal line though. The one that Fedoni was wide open and you just like threw it you know what I mean? Like that's a score.
Okay, 3 plays.
yeah.
No. Okay, you're right, but still. And so here's the
enough talk on Minnesota game.
Minnesota game.
From 6 weeks ago.
Here's an anecdote that I will let you in on. So ever since me and my wife have been together, we've been together since 2014, right? But we've been married since 2018. And we have not been to a bowl game since the 2017 season. So my marriage, ever since I've been married, we have not been to a bowl game. So here's a hypothetical. Would you get divorced for a Nebraska bowl game? Just kidding. That was just something I thought about the other day when they said like the year since we've been to a bowl. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a while ago. And then I was like, oh, wait, We haven't been to a bowl since I've been married. No wonder I've been so depressed.
No, yeah. I mean, but the point is that's still the goal for the overall year.
Yeah.
And we still only have to get one of the next 3 to do it. And it's against 3 teams that we're going to have a chance to beat.
Yeah.
So
2 of them at home.
yeah. I think this was our worst offensive game of the year so far, but let's get into specific positives. Do you have any like specifics, like players who played good,
Yes.
like anything like
Yep.
that?
I think Malachi Coleman is going to really develop into a really good receiver. I think Emmett Johnson is going to develop into not a good back, a great back. He puts a little bit of weight on him, and as long as he keeps his speed, he sees the field really well, and he has breakaway speed. He's only done it a couple times, but you can see it. Like there was that 3rd and 10, and they called a run to try to maybe get into 4th down, maybe go for it range, and he got a 1st down.
No, he has the acceleration. It's the acceleration to me because that's really what breakaway speed is to me. It's like getting at the. It's really hard to tell like who's faster than who at top speed, but like you can tell who's faster than who at their first 3 steps. And he's really fast in his first 3 steps.
Yeah. So those 2. Trying to think of another just like player.
I think Fedoni had a good game. I think
Fedoni did have a bounce back game.
Yeah, I think he missed a couple blocking assignments, but as far as like in the passing game, like when he was targeted, he caught the balls.
There was one blocking assignment. He had just caught that like long pass for like 30 yards, and then they ran a bubble screen where he was like the block guy, and it's like, why'd you do that? He's freaking tired. He's gonna miss that block.
Yeah,
and it was a loss.
And it's an open field block against like a slippery wet bug, like small defensive back.
Yeah,
that's a hard block to make for a big old tight end like that.
But he did a bounce back game. Caught the passes he was supposed to. Got open. Any other positive?
I think that again. I just think that like we had that rise up mentality. It just didn't happen, and the good thing about going on a 3-game win streak like we just did is I sort of feel like, okay, we did just lose, but I don't feel the stink that we were feeling before. Like 0-2 to start the season, it was like, here we go. The stink is here again. You know what I mean? You just like feel like, ugh, like we're in this just like rut and we can't get out of it. Yeah. But now I feel like, okay, like our goals are still in front of us. Like the goal on the year, like outwardly looking in on the program was like, let's get to a bowl game, right?
Yeah.
And that goal is still there. So the positivity is still there. I think our team has the rise up mentality. We just need to make the plays when it happens.
Absolutely.
When it gets to that point, because all these remaining games are going to be 1-score games. And so defensively, I can't think Cam Linhart had a couple of really good plays. He had a sack. And I talked to you about James Williams, number 90. Mm-hmm. He had 1 sack, I believe, today, but he was always just getting back there, getting pressure when he was in, from what I saw. But just more on him, he just has a really fast first couple of steps. Like I think maybe the fastest first couple of steps I've seen, at least from our team. He's very explosive in his first 2 steps, and he was a late developer. He didn't really get good in high school until his senior year, so he didn't get recruited. And then once he did get recruited, he didn't get the grades, so he went to JUCO, and then he transferred here and had been on the scout team. So I think he's definitely a positive a development and someone to definitely follow. If he can put maybe a little bit more weight on, for sure, then he's going to be a really good player. But yeah, defensively, I don't know. Buford played. He was the number 24. He played. But he had one where he bit hard. I don't know. Defensively, can you think of anybody else?
Man, Tommy Hill is always in position.
Yes.
It's just whether he makes the play or not, man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because he made like so many good plays, but a lot of people will only remember the ones that he didn't.
Right.
And that is the defensive back position. Like people remember wide receivers for catching the 50-yard bomb, and they won't remember the 4 other drops they had. Right. But defensive back isn't like that. but he's been in last year. It's completely different from last year. The criticism from last year, he was just getting gassed and toasted and just like mossed on. Like he was not in the right position last year. He wasn't really playing defensive back. He was just a really athletic guy that was always out of place.
Yeah.
And this year he's literally playing the position to a T, and I don't know.
He's
I
in
just feel
position
bad
a
for
lot.
him.
He was in position for a couple of different like jump the ball interceptions today. You can really when you're jumping the ball in those positions, it really illustrates how his length as an athlete, like how long he is. And I remember the TCU Colorado game, the first week of the year, when Travis Hunter made that pick on the goal line, and in that moment, you're like, okay, like Travis Hunter, like he just used his length, you know what I mean? And those are the types of plays that I think Tommy Hill can make. And he's just that long type of cornerback that I compared him last week to you. This is like, he's an NFL sort of star wide receiver, so it's hard to compare him to this, but he's this type of athlete is Garrett Wilson. How he's just like, is a little bit of like awkward, like lumpy jaw, like he can like contort his body in weird ways, and he's long and I could see him doing the moonwalk. You know what I mean?
See,
like
here's what I would really compare him to, right? Is how he's played this year and the perception of the negative plays. And Darius Slay for the Eagles, because I watch a lot of Eagles football because I'm an Eagles fan, right? And that dude locks down receivers like no other. And I'm not saying that Tommy Hill does, but I'm saying like the position that Tommy Hill is in is the same thing for Darius Slay. But people only remember when Slay bites on a double move. They only do that. And so the perception of that is what I'm talking about with Tommy Hill. And the athleticism looks pretty damn similar. They play the position very, very, very similar. They really do.
I want him returning punts. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's a gamble, but like, come on, like he can catch the ball, and like the dude's got so much explosion. Put somebody who's got a quick first couple of, put Emmett Johnson back there. Somebody who's got a couple of quick first steps, and like we need some punt returns. But anyway, we already talked about that in negatives. No. I was just thinking we were just talking about Tommy Hill.
And kick returns.
And kick returns, for
he's
sure.
He's had what, like 22, like 2 or 3 20+ yard returns.
But to me, punt returns is even easier because it's like he's already out there for defense. You know what I mean? He's already out there for defense. And I know you probably want to send a fresh set of legs out there, but like he's your best athlete. That's your best athlete. That's the guy. You know?
Right. Let's go to one final thought.
Yeah.
What's your one final thought? After you might have just said it.
My one final thought is, it sucks to lose. It sucks to lose. But again, we got 3 games left in the season. Maryland at home, Wisconsin on the road, Iowa at home. So one of those, like, we're going to win one of them. I'm just going to say that right now. We're going to win one of them. It's going to happen.
Okay. I don't know why you would say that. Put that into the ether with the past couple of years that we've had. Now, if I was a betting guy, I probably would put money on it, but I wouldn't say it out loud.
The win streak music will be heard again this year.
Oh, okay. So little tease there, just the tip. For those that know, you know. That's funny. But to play that music again, like we'd have to win out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or you drop one to Maryland, but you beat Wisconsin and Iowa and win your bowl game. That's a win streak.
I say we play it if that happens and we beat Wisconsin and Iowa. That's a play worthy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I love that song too. It's my favorite song.
Yeah. No, I know. You have it on repeat. So my one final thought. And it's not a positive. I know like a lot of our one final thoughts are positive. Mine's not going to be. And my one final thought was when I was sitting there watching the game and I saw most of their ones going against a lot of our second, third string people on offense. I just thought, what would this game have been if we had not had all those injuries on offense? Like the offensive line, especially. What would the game have looked like? What would our running back room look like? Because I'm sorry, at this point in the season, he only has a couple of games eligibility left. Anthony Grant starting to look a little bit more like a bust than we probably would have bet on. He has some good runs here and there, but the dude can't run between the tackles. He just can't. Emmett Johnson is looking really good, but can you put the entire run game on him? No, he'd be a very good tool back being in there. Like, what would it look like with Ramir Johnson, with Gabe Irvin, with Tanner Corcoran, with Ethan Piper? What?
I said Gabe Urban.
Gabe Urban. And all the receivers like Marcus Washington, and Billy Kemp even being on the field on offense. Like, there's a lot of pieces there that are just missing from an experience level that would really help in this section of the season, in November in the Big Ten. So that was my one final thought that I couldn't help but think, what if?
Yeah. Well, let me put it to you this way. I completely agree with you when it comes to skill positions, but actually I'll switch to the offensive line, and I'm doing an impression of Dr. Rob Zadiska. Respect. We like Dr. Rob on this show. I listened to his show. Me
too.
And he talked about it the other day. He was like, well, really, we like with the injuries on the offensive line, they're just all backups, really. Like, at the end of the day, like at the level that they are, they're just all backups. So like, what are we're trading a backup for another backup? Like, that's what he said. And he's got a point. Like, I think like even with the skill positions out, the offense could have only been so good. Like Piper, I completely agree with you. Like, he was maybe the best offensive lineman on the team. But with the skill positions out, I really do think like there's some truth to that. And the offense probably could only be so good because of that offensive line limitation that we have. And I think maybe the extra skill positions could help us get into a little bit more of a rhythm, and that helps the offensive line too. But I just think that like this is not what the offense is going to look like, you know, if when Rule really gets like his imprint on the culture of development in the offensive line for years to come. You know what I mean? Like 3 years from now, our offensive line, I feel like we're going to be able to rely on them a lot more than we can right now.
Just with what's happened, for what's happened with injuries and everything, Satterfield. Just for if I were the head coach, if I were Matt Rule, he still has a job next year, and Raiola still has a job next year. They've shown marked improvement, like way above what we would have expected.
Agreed.
For this situation that we're
in.
Right.
Agreed.
Especially Raiola. Like, there's always a lot of pressure on offensive lines, and especially in Nebraska when you had that pedigree of the entire college football, wishing that they had Nebraska's offensive line for almost a decade, right? So if you have that, there's always a big standard that the fans hold them to. So I think that Raiola has done a good job now. Now 2 years in the role, some players that, you know, he's developed, and you only notice the offensive line when they're playing bad. We haven't noticed the offensive line nearly as much this year as we have last year. We did today, but just as a grand total, we have not, and I think they've done a really good job.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I guess that's it for the day, right?
Yep.
That's it.
That's it for the day. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please follow us on X at @CHusker_corner and Instagram Cornhusker Corner. Anything else before we log off here?
Subscribe to the video.
Subscribe to the video. Like the channel. Podcast.